There, as I said the other day, these things, well, you guys know about this undersea volcano. However, you did not know there were two explosions at the exact same time. That you may not have known, because that data is scrubbed. And this has set off a chain of events. It really has. I'm not concerned about that eruption. I am concerned about part of the southern hemisphere that it's beginning to affect. We have a pretty large tug, as I said a couple of days ago, a hefty tug on the earth. And it's, undersea volcanoes and explosions. Didn't I describe one of those for you guys? I think I did. How that people would see over the ocean steam and ash coming out of the water. And we're going to see more and more of that. The truth is, here's what people are missing. If that same volcanic eruption had been on land, we would be in trouble, right? We wouldn't have this conversation at all. We'd not be having that. We would have another one. Both volcanoes exploded under the water. Both did. Somebody said Tamu Massive? No. If that blew, the world would be doomed. And it will blow one day. Because it's already, there are too many vents starting to coalesce down in the central portions of this thing. Is a monster. And if it blows, there'll be no mistaking that, because it will cause a wave that will swallow all the coastlines. Right? It has that much displacement power. Tamu Massive is one of the biggest volcanoes in our solar system. It's one of the giants of Earth and of Mars and of all the other planets. So, as it turns out, one of the largest volcanoes in our solar system is right here on Earth. Isn't that something? I believe that our Father has all this under control, but it's also sad. Nobody's going to yield or inquire into the deeper points of this eruption, right? You know what that means? That means if somebody knew of future eruptions, they could say everything they wanted to get people prepared. People are not going to be prepared. They're not. They're still going to choose to live their lives. And if you haven't noticed, these latest sets of these eruptions are nothing. They really are absolutely nothing. We're about to feel something. It'll be an example of a potential. It'll be upsetting. See, this is the unfortunate thing. With no loss of life, there's no impact to anything that happens on the earth. It becomes some sort of a spectacle, something interesting people can see, right? When there's loss of life, everything changes. People start changing. They take things seriously. Loss of life is coming from something just like that underwater eruption. But there'll be two landmass eruptions, right? I'm also shocked that Angela didn't figure out that dream I told her and you guys a long time ago when I said that I was looking out at the water, right? Remember the fish under the underpasses first. But I was looking out over the water and I thought it was a tsunami of this brownish, grayish looking, I thought it was a wave, but it was not a wave. It was ash, hot ash. And it was coming from the ocean. It was coming from across the water. Do you guys remember that? Yeah, that's kind of eerie because when this thing exploded, in the some of the key tips went off at the ISS, and they started queuing people in to see. That was something. Now, I will tell you this. Some people did record both explosions. To my understanding, they're on the web. I cannot tell you where to look, but if you find it fairly quickly, right, if somebody had an image of the Earth, it has to be a satellite image, you'll see two volcanic eruptions from the ocean. You'll see one big one and one that's about half the size of it. They did not report the second one. I don't know why, but they didn't. They didn't do it. So But and they're not going to do anything about evacuations. They know there are certain land masses that are going to be crippled in the next, the coming days. They're not going to do a thing about it. You're not going to hear anything about it until these land masses are overcome, right? You're not. Even within our Christian community, you likely will hear nothing about it, because it's almost like people are afraid to tell what the Lord puts in them in truth. They're afraid, right? I wish that people were not afraid, that they would trust what the Lord gives them. Because how many people knew something was going to, the other day when I was discussing, a volcano woke up, right? And of course, I know we have our the good friends of ego searching as soon as I say something like that. But when they find it, right, it's not just me. It's other people also who have these same things inside them. But they won't say anything. They won't say a thing. And listen, if the Lord allows you to know some things or to see a bad situation coming, you better believe it's for your brothers and your sisters in Christ. But it's not to gain recognition. That's not what that's for, right? We're quickly approaching a time when any information, any spiritual insight will be critical for people's well-being, right? And one of the largest issues we have not covered is the spiritual issue, because all the physics of volcanoes, the physical reactions, physical toll, all these things are bound in the realm of reality. But what about the spiritual realm? People are being consumed every day by way of darkness, every single day. And the fight is ongoing, right? Not all that begins with trust, which is why I've been talking about some of the subjects I've been talking about. I was led to talk about that. In hopes that people would build their trust with Christ, so that when he gives them something, they won't be afraid, right, to act upon what the Lord gave them, or to encourage their brothers and their sisters in that knowledge he gave them, because what the Lord gave you is critical for somebody else. It is critical. And you know, and I know, it can't be made up. It has to be from him. But unfortunately, a lot of people are frightened to talk about those things. They are. But were any of you kind of shaken by this eruption, or was it one of those passive events? You know what, I would go so far as to say, no one really cares about this eruption. No one really cares about it. It's almost like you can't care about it. Anybody have that type of sentiment towards this eruption? Like it's not, it's an eruption, yes. It's a quite large one, yes. It spewed ash a great deal out of the water. And you know what's so funny? This morning, I was going over some things, and it's almost like everybody was saying, well, I never heard of anything like that before. How could they not hear? How could they not hear? Didn't we talk about this same subject? About 3 weeks ago? About volcanoes blowing and ash spewing from the water going up in the air, that people would begin to see this. In fact, there's a recording of that very thing, that people would see it. But now when the time comes, no one remembers. They don't remember until they go back and reference it. But when they go back and reference it, it's too late. It holds no meaning. And the whole purpose is this: the Lord will not have us ignorant concerning what he will do at any given time. He'll never do that. But we have to pay attention to what the Lord is giving his children, right? We have this bad habit of doing something else, but no. Somebody says the ash stream. Well, the ash stream is similar, but not this event. I specifically said that we're going to see volcanoes blow up in the oceans. They will erupt in the ocean, spewing ash out of the oceans. There'll be huge clouds coming out of the oceans because volcanoes go off, oceanic volcanoes go off and spew that ash right through right through the water up into the air. That's what I specifically said. I wish that somebody would find that. Not for anybody else. Listen, if you do find that, don't go telling it to anybody else. That's for us here. So when you find that, just find it. Keep track of those things, right? Because if they're ever dead wrong, you're supposed to let me know also. You know that, don't you? I hope you know that. You don't allow somebody to say something, nothing happens, and then you just go skipping off to something else. No, it's not the way it works. Because if the Lord is not giving a person something, it's important that that person stop saying what they're saying. It really is. If it does not come from the Father, we don't need it, right? We don't need it. But if something is coming from him, it can become useful. It really could. And I hope that people are paying attention because the others are close into doing what they're doing. And that's going to take a lot of trust between all of us for people to even hear that subject. And you're talking about fear to a great degree. People are going to have fear to a great degree. We're talking about something that's in the flesh like you and I, right? That has some sort of spiritual power over you at the same time. So imagine a person that houses pure darkness, pure evil, who will frighten you so bad you can't even function in your own body. That's what men are facing, and they have no idea of this, right? I do my best to share what I know for a fact, but it almost surpasses the ears of so many because of debate and because of everybody's theory. I can't wait until some of these things come to pass so that most 90% of these theories are going to be proven wrong, and then we can get to the truth of the matter. It's very difficult to get to the truth when everybody has an idea about what something is, where they're always conjuring up what they think something is. Because what? Even a UFO, what it really is, would make you regurgitate instantly. If you knew the truth, you would never have a curiosity about that ever again in your life. If you knew the truth, you wouldn't. Because what's being done is by something that is absolutely lawless. I mean lawless. Even the worst person in the world obeys certain laws. They only go so far. These things have no limitations. None. But men will be introduced soon enough because they play around and toy around. And things will begin to, they'll be shown for what they are. But I'm telling you right now, it's going to be a lot of people you thought were strong. They're going to run. I'm just telling you that right now. They're going to run. They will not have an answer. And because they won't have an answer, because they have no control over the situation, they're going to run. They're going to run because they don't trust Christ enough either. All those who truly trust in the Lord, they don't care what comes. They don't. They'll take no thought of darkness forming to the front, to the rear, left or right. But those who don't trust Jesus are always trying to find out what's about to harm them. And there are many things that are going to harm people in these times. You guys remember last time I told you, I said we have two objects. I think I said that we have two objects. They're not reporting. They're going to pass by us in a couple days. Do you know what happened a couple days later? Two objects passed by. And they didn't report it anywhere, and they said they didn't know about it. I shared that with you. I did this 13 times, 14 times. Men know more than what you think. A whole lot more than what you think. But they're playing dumb, as though they don't know for the public's sake. Because they want you to do exactly what they have programmed you to do. When I say programmed, they can anticipate your behaviors. They really can. They can anticipate what you're going to do, what you're going to talk about, what will interest you, right? They know people like reality television, and a lot of people, they still, regardless of what they say, they're entertaining themselves with Hollywood-made things. You know what's so bad about that? It's not that the movie is not bad. Here's what's bad about it. Whatever you see with your eye becomes a part of your world. Do you know that? You cannot undo it in your mind. It becomes a part of your reality, your mind, your world. And then you'll take and draw upon certain aspects of what you see, and you'll impose that on everybody else. That's why we have to be careful about what we're watching, how we hear, what we're hearing. We do. We have to be very careful. Everything you hear, everything you see becomes a part of your world. It will influence you in some form or fashion. It will influence you. You've got to be careful of that. Because what you consume, just like food, when you consume food, it literally becomes you. Literally. Now, of course, it's altered, so you're not what you eat. Because it's altered. But you do become one with what you consume. And people have to watch out for this, because that when you're watching things by the eye, you can be fooled by the eye, big time. You can. And if you're fooled by the eye, then your heart is going to change, because you'll allow thoughts that enter into your mind to go right down into your heart. Before you know it, that's what you live by. That's what you speak about.